everybody, welcome to episode 27 of the weekly debate/discussion show. Hashtag shout. I'm Steve Jones 313. This very creepy guy sitting next to me is none other than Dan the Geek King Adamson.
Hello.
And sitting in the back of the room, not feeling very well, is the one, the only, the Lord Walker one. Exactly. Like I said, this is episode 27, so we thank you for joining us on Blip TV and YouTube. This week again, we're very happy to announce...
We're happy to say that we're on YouTube, Blip TV, if you keep telling us off for saying stuff.
Yeah, they kind of do. And their adverts are getting insanely long. I mean, I don't mind adverts, but I was watching an advert the other day, which lasted 5 minutes. 5 fucking minutes!
Was that not
for a 50-second video.
Was that not a show about...
No, it was... I don't even know
what... You're getting the wrong way around. No, the advert was only 50 seconds and the show was 5 minutes.
I think it was some kind of like charity advert or something like that, because the message at the end was, like, we could be free or some bullshit like that. Some wank like that. But, by God, it was terrible. It was like, at least on YouTube, okay, you get like, the longest advert I've seen on YouTube is 2 minutes. And that pisses me off, but... At the same time, it's not 5 minutes. It's not an epic. And at least the advert, I know what they're advertising. I did this one. I was still... you know what? It looked like one of those independent college students like films. But yeah. Anyway. So, as promised, the news segment is a thing of the past.
I missed the news.
Oh, fuck off.
You missed the news, Nathan.
What?
Correction. You miss getting to piss me off by going... Boring.
Still find out a way to do that somewhere.
Yeah, you kind of would. But anyway, this week, we have not one, but 2 fan casts for you guys. Yeah, it's good. So what was your fan cast challenge?
Mine was, I gave you it, you said no, so I did it to Aqua Man.
Oh, so you've done the Aqua Man. I've done the fan cast for Wonder Woman. And Adam has been unable to start because he's been like busy with work, obviously with college work. He's also been doing a show, so he's been unable to do it. So hopefully, next week, we'll have a starter fan cast.
Next week, you'll have my foot up with Jackson.
Unlikely.
It's Jackie Chan.
It's Jackie Chan.
Yes, I have a personal... I have my own personal Jackie Chan. He fights off evil peeps for me when I'm in danger.
And takes him occasionally sometimes.
Yes, and he does fantastic opera songs, which helps me sleep on a night time. But I can't talk to Etty, he just sings me operas and I fall asleep.
I'd like to apologise now.
Some of that might not be true, if not all of it.
I apologise right now. I apologise now if I sound like a smoker from Left 4 Dead.
Yes. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we just thought we'd just go right into it. We'll start with one of the Firecast challenges, and basically I've been nominated to go first. By nominated, I mean I've been told that my dad will hurt me.
I didn't say I'd hurt you.
Oh, sorry, you said you'll hug me.
I'm not going to hug you.
I will.
Try to make me out to be some weirdo who just hugs people.
I know, Sam.
You are.
Why would you do that on our show?
But yes, anyway. So my challenge was to do a fan cast for Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is not one of my favourites.
Not even in your top 3?
Not even in my top 3. I'm sorry. She's just not... I find her quite an irritating character in pretty much every incarnation I've ever seen her in, especially the TV pilot. Oh God, that's not Wonder Woman. I don't care who you are. That is not Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman does not stand in an office and go, Wonder Woman has perfect tits and ass. I'm sorry, that is not Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman goes from being this strong Amazon woman who hates men to find them a confusing creature, to finding them appreciating them, to falling in love with them, all of a sudden to go, Wonder Woman has perfect tits and ass. Seriously? How?
And she doesn't.
Yeah, well, that one definitely didn't.
Her tits are alright. Her ass is a bit, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like...
Why she keeps going from wearing short pants to skirts to then, long pants?
Well, it would be like having Neil Patrick Harris play me. It just doesn't work. Because it's like, let's face it, player Neil Patrick Harris, or, the Barney Stinson character, me not so much. Poetic, romantic, monogamous kind of guy, Barney Stinson. You know what I mean? It's that
kind of guy.
Yeah.
Monogamous guy. Dude.
Okay.
There's no kind in it, is there?
Yeah, true. But it's a complete and utter fuckery of the character. You know, it's like the only way you could have made it.
What would you expect?
Well,
You got the guy who wrote Ally McBeal to write the fucking pilot.
The only way they could have gotten that even more wrong is if they made Wonder Woman a man. And that's, I know about Wonder Man and Dr. Psycho. Shut the fuck up. This doesn't exist in my universe.
Wonder transsexual.
Wonder transsexual. Oh, God.
Wonder it.
To be fair, Wonder Man is actually Marvel.
Well, no, because I'm talking about when Dr. Psycho put the image of Steve Trevor on with the powers of...
I was half listening.
All right. It's one of the few occasions where you can tell I've researched. You know?
Only when he doesn't find cast people. Only when he finds cast.
Yeah, I did debate on making Dr. Psycho a character in this one, but I don't like Dr. Psycho. He's a small, power-mad dictator who knows too much of me. So, and yeah, now there's a new fucking cosplay outfit I could do, you know.
Dr. Nemesis.
Yeah, I thought
Marvel and the X Club.
I might be a bit too short to do Dr. Psycho.
You know, James Bradley, he's got had blonde hair.
No. Well, anyway, so basically, the only thing I had about my fan cast was it had to be about Wonder Woman. And again, it should lead into the Justice League season that we're planning.
Yeah.
But I wasn't given any specific villains or any specific requirements. So, Dan, obviously you've got all the... I've told you all the people I'm using in terms of the fictional characters. Haven't told you the people I've had playing them, so they'll be a surprise to you. Also, I've invented some characters for the purpose of this movie. So, in a kind of a mixture of the two styles I've done beforehand, obviously my Superman and my Question, I'm going to go into detail on certain scenes, but then a lot of them I'm just going to give you the rough idea of what happens, because we don't want another 2-hour epic, you know?
It's a film of 2-hour epic.
No, I'm talking about the episode of Shout. You know what I mean? Because last time it took about an hour and a half for me to...
It took you 40 minutes to explain something that should take you 10, 15.
Yeah. So anyway... so the movie starts up with views around Washington DC, because that's this main city we're looking at here.
That's cool.
Across the news stations, the talk is all about the rebuilding efforts in Metropolis and the unbelievable partnership between Lex Luthor and Superman, who together are working hard to rebuild the city. Watching this particular story, and this is obviously all the news and all that, we've got the credits to the movie playing, right? Watching this particular story on a TV, sitting in a rather impressive apartment, looking a bit worse for wear, is Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor is played by Daniel Craig. Okay. You may know him from Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and some other movies which are actually decent.
Skyfall.
Yeah, haven't seen Skyfall yet.
I want to, and I have 2 free to. I have enough points on my card. I get a free cinema ticket.
Well, they should go.
I get 2 free cinema tickets. But I'm not wasting them on Bond.
Yeah.
Not this Bond, anyway.
But anyway, he stands up drinking a beer, and it looks like it wasn't the only beer he's had that night. As the television plays in the background.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
No, the way he presents himself, you know. He walks over to a wall where there is a picture of him and Diana dressed as Wonder Woman at a public appearance. So there's a shelf where all these pictures are. And you've got them two together. She's dressed as Wonder Woman at some kind of public appearance. Next to those photos is one of Diana, the alter ego, if you will, of Wonder Woman, and Steve together at a party kissing. He downs the beer and looks down as he has a flashback to the party. We cut back to him wincing as he's had another brief flashback to lying on the ground, unable to move in an absolute agony whilst Wonder Woman's holding him in her arms. You don't know what's caused the injury, all you know he is in agony and he is screaming. Steve rests his head on the shelf that the picture stands on, holding back tears that have already been shed. There's a knock at the door which goes unanswered. The door opens on its own and a man walks in dressed in uniform. Now this is going to be a character I've invented by the name of Agent Howard Lane.
Okay.
Played by Omar Epps.
Oh, cool.
Member from the House.
Yeah, and a few films as well.
Exactly, yeah. They greet each other before Steve kicks off. What the hell do you want, Howard? Actually, Steve, I'm here on business. Official business. Steve gives a quick laugh before walking slowly to the fridge to grab another beer. Agent Lane continues. With Wonder Woman having been gone for a year now, many human crime incidents are starting to rise again, and frankly, we haven't got the meta backup we need to deal with it. Plans are being put into place to set up a SCU in DC, mirroring Metropolis in order to handle the situation. Look, this is all incredibly fascinating, but I'm fast running out of beer, so please get to the point.
Might have to know part.
Yeah. Agent Lane sighs. They want you to head the DC Special Crimes Unit. You're the best qualified for the job, and seeing as you're not fulfilling your duties as embassy to Themyscira, there's little reason to keep paying you. So we already establish who he is without having to get into a long, arduous process of backtracking. So it's clear that for he hasn't had contact with Woodrow and all that jazz. Steve puts the beer on a nearby table and stares at Agent Lane. They want me to be a Medicop. Not interested. Agent Lane sighs and his tone changes. Look, Steve, this is important. Now, I'm sorry you miss your girl, but she's not my girl. He snaps back. There's a tense silence before Agent Lane shakes his head. You know what? I've got work to do. Either report to HQ on Monday at 900 hours or look for new income. Think about it. And he just storms out. Steve is left standing looking pissed and yet saddened at the same time. We then cut to Themyscira.
Okay.
And we spend a lot of time having a look at the island itself.
Well, you would do.
Because we're not going to spend a lot of time looking at how beautiful it is later.
Yeah.
I want the fans to get a good look. I really want to this is because we are coming back here later on, but not for the beauty.
Yeah.
So basically, it's allowing the time to show off the beauty of the place. We then cut to Wonder Woman doing battle against a horde of demonic creatures along with her Amazon sisters.
Okay.
Wonder Woman is played by Hilary Swank. You may have heard of $1 Million Baby.
Okay. Boys Don't Cry.
This took me quite a while to I had the name in my head, and I spent the next 20 minutes trying to justify it. So I compared to a lot of other people in my mind. Hilary Swank had that the ability to be quite feminine and beauty and be strong at the same time. And basically because of that role, but I had looked at a lot of her other stuff, and I just felt she could probably pull it off. She may not be the best qualified, but she's the best qualified that I could come up with for this role. The battlers used to basically show just how incredible a fighter Wonder Woman and the Amazons are. Wonder Woman is obviously leading the assault. Basically, you see the big doors which lead into the underworld. The demons are trying to clamber out of that. Fans will get what it is. People who aren't necessarily a fan of the show, they just got to see the first Wonder Woman movie. Look, it's a bunch of hot lasses kicking the shit out of demons. Be thankful, right? Eventually, Wonder Woman comes against the head demon. The head demon being played by Mark Calloway, the Undertaker.
My boy.
The two do battle, with Wonder Woman gaining the victory in the end. This leads to a victory banquet on the evening of the same day. Whilst all the Amazon sisters are around enjoying this banquet, not like hearty men and Arnold, but as whatever they were. Shut up, you. Wonder Woman is on a balcony overlooking the seas that separate them from the mountains world.
Yeah.
Her mother joins her. Her mother, Hippolyta, being played by Marina Sirtis, who's been in quite a few things. One of her most famous roles was Counselor Troy from Star Trek Next Generation. She's also been in SG-1, so a lot of TV work. But Marina Sirtis really would be able to pull off the Hippolyta look, in my opinion. And she's the older lass, so she could play the mother of Wonder Woman quite well, I think. So basically, they're looking over at the seas, and Wonder Woman looks lost and empty. Her mother speaks to her about returning to Washington to continue her work, because obviously that was the last place she was. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to go back, Mother. Hera, hast thou made a coward of my daughter? Wonder Woman immediately takes offence to the statement. I am no coward, Mother. Perhaps not, but it is fear keeping you from returning, isn't it? There's a silence before Wonder Woman gives a sigh. It was my fault he got hurt, Mother. I should have been there. Did you break his bones, Diana, or Giganta? Well, Giganta, obviously, and did you not fight with all your resolve and strength? Mother, that's not the point. And are you his keeper? All this time did my daughter have a man as nothing more than a pet? Goading, obviously going her, and she gets pissed and slams her fist to the balcony edge, breaking the marble. How dare you speak ill of Steve, Mother? He is a brave man who fought well, and he is not my pet. Hippolyta gives a small knowing smile. So if he fought like a warrior, sacrificed himself like a warrior, and was hurt, explain to me how this was your fault, Diana. There is another silence before Hippolyta places a hand on her daughter's shoulder. When your sisters were harmed in the battle today, they knew the risk, as did you. Yet when a sister falls, you honour their sacrifice. When this Steve falls, you retreat here. Love, true love, Diana, is not about hiding away our loved ones and being consumed with guilt when they are hurt. True love is risking it all for the sake of happiness and facing all challenges together. You can fight without him, so you can fight without him. You can be in battles without him. You can win without him, but you can't love without him. It has been many years since he was injured. It has been a year too long since you've hidden here. It's time to go back, Diana. The world needs Wonder Woman. So obviously you can tell at this point Hippolyta has learned from the lessons that Wonder Woman, basically Wonder Woman being able to interact with the world. Obviously we also know that Steve has been an ambassador to these people, an embassy to these people. So obviously Hippolyta's come to wisen up to the world and realise that he can work with them. So we then move into Africa. And as we see this building, which seems out of place with the African scenery. This is a quite high-tech lab, right? And in one of the rooms, we see a woman lying in bed, naked, though we only see her back as the sheets are covering her from the waist down, and she's got her back to us. Nearby is a chair with a white lab coat with a name badge on it that reads Prof. P-R-O-F. Zool. And close by is a table with a medical set and a filled needle. A male grabs it and carefully injects it into the woman, who turns around, the sheet covering her as she turns, to look at the man. So this is Professor Zool, who is Giganta, played by Amy Dumas, Lita from the WWE.
Okay, yeah, that works.
She greets him happily and jokes about the injection being rude. She was sleeping, after all. The man laughs as we are now able to see his face. And now this is a character I've made up, called Dr. Daniel Jones, played by David Wenham. Member of 300, Lord of the Rings. David Wenham, Van Helsing. He's the guy that tells the story.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He explains that she needs
He's a monk, isn't he?
Yes, in Van Helsing. I always said Viva Van Helsing. There's a crossover. Whoa! He explains that she needs injections to keep her healthy. This is merely to explain to the audience what's going on. She offers to show him how healthy she feels. As she drags him into bed, Dr. Jones jokingly complains that he's going to be late for work. So you get a very quick scene of this girl, Professor Zool. Fans will immediately go, I know who that is. Anyone that doesn't know who they are yet, you've been introduced to them very quickly. You're going to learn who she is within the next scene or so. Now, here comes the controversy. We jump to a makeshift lab somewhere in Africa. So we jump into actual labs now, the lab rooms of the same place, somewhere in Africa. We see a bunch of scientists working on different projects. We move over to the far end of the makeshift lab, where a short man in a white lab coat is working with some delicate instruments and chemicals. Dr. Daniel Jones arrives, taking his place near the man. Now, the man in question is Professor Matthew Lauren, played by me.
Hold on.
Yes?
I did Batman. I didn't put myself as Batman, did I?
Hold on. You might recognize him from... But yeah. You're insane, Dan. Dr. Daniel Jones looks back with a smirk. So you tell me every day, Matt. You know, if Cadmus ever finds out that you're examining your patient as closely as you are, they're gonna be pissed. You're just jealous that my girlfriend's taller than you. Please, everyone's taller than me. Ah, yes, how horrible it must be to be 5'5". Hey, and a half. Yes, I'm sure that half an inch makes all the difference. Go to hell, Dan. Yeah. They both laugh to themselves as Professor Lauren takes a drink from his tea before mixing two chemicals. Meanwhile, Professor Jones logs into his PC terminal and starts reading through some files. Without looking at Dan, Professor Lauren continues to speak to him. How is she anyway? She had another shot this morning. Seems to be keeping the cancer at bay, but I don't know how much longer they'll keep it going. No doubt Cadmus will be so sad to lose their resource. Do you need more shots? Actually, we're down to our last 5. Matthew goes, I'll lock up a batch before the end of day. Of course, I'm not usually the kind of guy to help psychopathic killers, but as you say, we wouldn't want to upset the powers that be. Thanks, man. At that moment, Professor Zool enters the lab and walks over to Daniel and Matthew with a smile. Morning, boys. Hard at work? Matthew rolls his eyes as she stands between him and Daniel. She leans in and gives Matthew a quick kiss on the cheek. Thanks for the shots, Matt. I'm feeling a lot better. Yeah, just remember that if you ever become tall enough to crush me, yeah? Aren't I already big enough to do that? Piss off. They laugh it off as she leans in to look at Matt's work. Any luck with the project? He shakes his head. Reversing the meta process is simpler than you'd think in theory, but without a proper test subject, I can't be sure, and somehow, I doubt any meta-humans are going to waltz in here and play guinea pig. Maybe you could put an ad in the paper. Maybe Superman is looking for work. Daniel laughs. Nice idea, but it wouldn't work with him. She looks at him. Why not? Daniel brings up the chemical composition of some formula labeled Purifier, along with some of the files. The formula is designed to attack the specific part of the human DNA structure that creates meta-human aspects. We call it the metagene. The idea is to reverse engineer the evolution process, in a sense, to neutralize the meta-powers, thus making them normal. Matt jumps in. The problem being that the formula can't be a generic mix. Each formula would have to be tailored for a specific target, which would require a sample of the DNA. Okay, I get that, but why wouldn't it work on Superman? Daniel brings up a file marked SM's analysis. Superman isn't human, as we all know, so his powers don't come from a metagene. The Purifier works only on human DNA, so if Superman comes knocking on our doors, best pray we have some nice shiny green rocks to scare him off. Professor Zool nods her head before Matt gets rather annoyed. Aren't you supposed to be doing something anyway? Zool smiles and walks off to go work at her project. We see her log into a terminal. Matt and Daniel watch her leave. Daniel smirks at Matt. She's really something, isn't she? Yeah, but no offense, I prefer my girls not to have a history of mass murder. At this point, I don't think you could afford to be too picky.
Everyone's a fucking prick.
Yeah. I'm serious, Dan. Look, you're my friend, and I want you to be happy, but think about this. The bitch killed thousands by going for a walk. What happens if she ever gets her powers back? You think she's going to stick around and fight the good fight? Just don't get hurt, Dan. Look, Matt, you don't know her like I do, okay? She's changed. She's one of us, I promise. Matt just sighs and looks at his watch. Sure, whatever, Dan. Look, I've got a meeting at 11. Just remember what I said. Matt goes to leave as he walks past Professor Zool. She gets him and grabs Matt, who turns around. What? Look, Matt, I know things have been between us are difficult, and I know you don't trust me, but all the same, I do appreciate everything you've done for me, and Dan. Thanks. She leans in and hugs Matt, placing a small circular device on him, which he doesn't notice. After breaking the incredibly awkward hug, he walks off to his meeting shaking his head. Cut to Washington, D.C., we're at the new Metropolitan Special Crimes Unit facility. Agent Steve Trevor is arriving to accept his post. He meets his friend Agent Lane and head of the Metropolis SCU, Agent Maggie Sawyer, who we saw in the Superman film, played by Amanda Tapping. This leads to an explanation of what the SCU is, and eventually leads to a meeting with Wonder Woman, who has returned. So it kind of coincides, and we get this. This is one of those ones where I don't explain everything.
Yeah.
The brief point is we have a brief meeting between the two. We see how awkward it is, and you can, in a way, you see that there is an underlining passion between the two. But he's hurt because she abandoned him, and she's scared because she doesn't want him to get hurt. So they obviously both want to be together, but there's on one side hurt and the other side fear.
Yeah.
So after this stuff, we go back to Africa, where Professor Lauren is in a meeting with the members of Cadmus in a special office. No windows, and just one door to the building. The room, sorry. Professor Lauren sits at his desk with a laptop. Meanwhile, there's a conversation going on, which includes I'll say the name, some of the names now. One of the generals, I keep forgetting his name. Might be General Iron something. But Amanda Waller is there, but you don't see them. They're in shadow, so they're still open to be casted. But there's a conversation going on, pretty much, that we've just jumped in halfway. So it goes like this. We've interrogated him, but he keeps babbling about nonsense, something about an Illuminati conspiracy. And what is the situation with Professor Strange? Well, since the debacle in Gotham, he's been AWOL. We've sent agents out to find him, but he's obviously getting help. We need to find him, people. Project Purifier relies on his research. Speaking of which, Professor Lauren, what is the status of the Purifier formula? He hits a few keys on his laptop. The room goes dark and a holographic display appears in the center table. The display shows the chemical formula in its bonds form. The text with the beginning dash. So far, the formula looks promising. However, without a proper test subject, there's no way to assure success. The formula has to be tailor-made to suit the target due to the complex nature of the metagene, which we don't fully understand as it is. Currently, Dr. Jones is researching the metagene, and according to his findings, it may be possible to simplify the formula. Amanda Waller's voice chimes up. What do you mean, Matthew? Tapping a few more keys, the display changes to an image of the metagene. Theoretically speaking, the term the metagene may be too much of a definite article. From what we've discovered, we believe there are various forms of metagenes that share a basic bond, which theoretically would explain why certain metahumans share similar powers. If this is true, we can identify the various types of metagene. We can then create a separate types of purifiers to attack them at a basic level, eliminating the powers granted by the metagene. Yep. So basically the idea is perhaps there are different types of metagene which explain why certain people have similar powers. So two people that have the ability to, say, breathe fire have the same basic metagene components, just with slightly different coding. How much time will you need to create a test batch? He sighs. Well, unfortunately, without a test subject, we have no way of putting the formula together. There is a silence, leaving Matthew looking really nervous. Moving on to other business. How is Professor Zool doing? Professor Zool is responding well to treatment. Currently, I have on a specialized drug to combat the cancer. As we hear the conversation, we zoom in on the device on Matthew before we cut to Professor Zool, who appears to be listening into it via an ear device. She listens intently whilst trying to look like she's working. We cut back to the meeting. The drug is designed in two parts. First, the drug triggers a chain reaction similar to the reaction that occurs when she changes using her size shifting ability. This reaction allows her body to work faster to combat the weakness and damage brought on by the cancer. Of course, these are incredibly small doses, so there's absolutely no risk of her regaining her abilities. We cut back to Zool, who is suddenly met by Dr. Jones, who starts small talk, so distracting her from the actual conversation, so she's no longer listening. So we cut back to the meeting. The second part of the formula is designed to weaken the cancerous cells so that they do not grow, for a lack of a better term. Without this part of the formula, the cancer would spread at an accelerated rate, reaching a critical and fatal point in a matter of days. The combination of these drugs allow us to keep Professor Zool alive without fear of her returning to her original metahuman state. We cut back to Professor Zool, who manages to get rid of Dr. Jones and goes to returning to listening at the conversation. The meeting continues. What security measures do you have in place to protect this drug? I make a batch every morning, at which point they're left in the coolers for 18 hours to stabilize. After that, I add the second half of the formula that's creating the drug. At all times, we have a security team guarding the lab so no one without top-level clearance can enter it. As it stands, I am the only member of the lab team that has access to the drugs, not including everyone in this room. Mm-hmm. The rest of the meeting kind of goes on, to explain any finer points. We cut back to Jones, who we get shots of her thinking intently, thinking about a plan.
Yeah.
We jump later to in the evening, when Matthew is packing up his stuff to finish his day, when Professor Zool walks up to him. Matthew barely acknowledges her, because obviously he doesn't like the bitch.
But obviously he doesn't like the bitch.
She tries flirting with him to get the pass from him, but obviously it doesn't work, so she was also simply hitting him across the head with a rack of test tubes, knocking him out. So beyond that, she takes the pass and heads to the labs. She goes in to the labs and she takes the formulas from the cooler. So this is important to note. She's taken them from the cooler, which means these are the ones that were in the 18-hour process. So they haven't got the second half of the formula in them. Once she takes them, she heads for a different part of the labs where she finds her old stuff. When we come, anything could happen at this point, like maybe an investigation, like people are going, like maybe there's a security alarm going off. When we come back to her, she's wearing her yellow and black jumpsuit, for a better term, and she starts injecting herself with several doses of the formula. She starts screaming as she begins to grow. Cue scenes of absolute carnage as alarms are going off and everyone is ringing around in a panic. Dr. Jones runs into the main lab area where he finds Matthew lying with blood in his head. He helps him up when Zool bursts in, destroying half the room and the ceiling with it, essentially by walking. She picks up Dr. Jones with one hand and is obviously in a near-ecstatic state as she holds him firmly in his hand, screaming about how powerful she is, before accidentally crushing him. Dropping him to the floor, she seems conflicted, but starts laughing maniacally as she continues destroying the building. So, for a moment, she's conflicted by what she's just done, but then she realizes the power she has again, and so it kind of consumes her. Suddenly, she lets out a groan of pain, and she looks at her neck, where there was a needle sticking into it. We looked at and see Matthew holding a specialised gun, almost crossbow-like, filled with several syringes. He fires them all into it. She starts to lose her balance, noticeably shrinking a few feet. Which is kind of like, trading a pebble into the ocean for a rock in the ocean. There's a noticeable difference, but the effect is the same. The oceans are affected. She escapes as the rest of the building. She basically escapes, and in her retreat causes the rest of the building to collapse in on itself. Now, I'm going to brief up some scenes here. We get a scene with Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor. They're basically in Washington fighting a metahuman assault. Obviously, there's a band of metahumans who've gathered together to cause some mayhem. One of them being KG Beast. KG Beast, played by Dan the King Adamson.
Well, you gotta have a bad guy. You gotta have someone.
Yeah.
So my Russian is lit off,
But basically,
and I get a stupid like boomerang, don't
I haven't cast you yet.
Haha.
Hey, I said yet.
I'll cast you.
Oh, great! I'm gonna be Black Canary.
No, I cast Black Canary last week.
Did you, Stephen?
Yeah.
But anyway,
Being an outman.
so with a bit more tits and a little less penis, But
Well, I'll see what I can do, but it's not.
that's got a number.
I got the boom.
Okay.
I can tell.
So basically, anyway,
He broke me.
first it broke the bat. But so basically they're able to defeat the metahumans with a joint effort, and KG Beast is arrested. This is important to note.
Noted.
Right. Meanwhile, in the same city, at the main hospital, we see a scene where Professor Matthew Lauren is lying in a hospital bed, bandaged up like hell. A nurse walks in with long flowing red hair, who knows, and it turns out it is Professor Zool, or Gianna. She basically is talking to Matthew about what did you do to me? And he explains that the stupid bitch injected herself with only half the formula, which, yes, gives her power back with the amount she dumped in, but she's just exceeded her cancer acceleration rate exponentially. Her cancer is growing every day, and it's not going to stop. She demands that he basically come up with him. He says, I'm not going to help you. Why should I help you? You're a mass murdering fuckhead. Doesn't use those words, obviously, but...
I would.
Yeah. But,
Hence why I'm not Casey.
she basically, she says, well, you made this for me, you've got to, otherwise I'll kill more. He goes, yeah, but you'll kill more anyway if I help you. The difference is, if I don't help you, the cancer's eventually going to kill you, and you'll be dead. And she kind of sits there, and for a moment you get some confliction, where she goes, I didn't mean to kill him. And Matthew goes, I don't care. You killed him. But I didn't mean to. I was just... You don't know what it's like. You killed him. That's all that fucking matters. You killed him. The one man...
But I didn't.
The man that loved you, regardless of everything you did, you killed because you were on a fucking high. I'm not going to help you. And then she sees a smile on the face, so she goes, there is one thing I could do. Thank you, Matthew. You've been most helpful, but unfortunately, guess if you're not going to help me, I'm not going to need you anymore. And then puts a pillow over his face. Hardcore fans of Wonder Woman, at this point, will be going, call back. Because there is a scene when, I can't remember the actual situation, because I'm not a big hardcore Wonder Woman. This came with my research, and this is why I included this bit. In one particular scene, she dresses up as a nurse and she tries to kill someone by smothering them with a pillow before she gets caught by Wonder Woman. And I wish I could remember who it was. I think it was Steve Trevor actually, that she was sent to kill originally. But at that point, you try to kill someone that works for Cadmus, you can bet that Cadmus operatives are nearby. So the Cadmus obviously slowly rush in and open fire. So she jumps out of a window and then starts roaring as she's landing. So she's falling. And then she just starts causing destruction, which, of course, gets the attention of Wonder Woman. A fight scene starts between Wonder Woman and Giganta, and Giganta's getting her ass handed to her because she's in a weakened state. Although she's, tall and strong, the cancer, obviously every time she grows, is growing with her. So she's killing herself every time she grows. So whilst this fight's going on, we cut back to the hospital where you see operatives running down the corridor where that's outside the room. But when we look at the hospital bed, Matthew's not in it anymore. Cut very quickly to outside where there's a black van with the driver door slamming shut and then the van speeding off. We go back to the fight. Giganta is putting up an okay effort, but Wonder Woman's like, pow, motherfucker, throw your fucking neck, die! You know? So Giganta sees a sewer hole, shrinks down to normal size, down into the sewer hole, and runs off. After knocking Wonder Woman away. So by the time Wonder Woman gets back to where she was, the giant's gone. How the fuck do you lose a giant?
Yeah, how the fuck do you lose a giant?
So at this point, Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor return back to the HQ, and they're like discussing like what could she want, and Wonder Woman's like, we need as much information as we can get. However, during this conversation, someone they hear a door close. They turn around, this door closes, and someone walks out. So they run outside to see who it is, and the person's gone. But when they come back, there's been a parcel left for them. They open up the parcel, and it's a collection of syringes filled with a white liquid, which basically says, you'll need this. And they're like, okay. Cue to a prison cell where the metahuman KG Beast is being held. And basically the security guards are too scared to go anywhere near it. Because
I would be as well.
You get a conversation between two guys who said, whose turn is it to feed him? It's like, not me, the last guy that went to feed him got his neck broken. So Giganta walks in, dressed as Girls, and says, I'll do it. Honey, he'll rip you apart. She goes, I heard he likes redheads.
I do.
He goes, your funeral, honey. So she takes the food in. KG Beast is there, looks up, and smirks. Well, you. Didn't think I'd see you yet. And obviously whatever accent, because...
Well.
Yeah. And she goes, I need your help. Very well, but why would I help you? And basically she explains that she needs to cause a distraction. She needs to cause a distraction that'll get Wonder Woman off her back. And KGB's like, well, I could do this, but what do I get out of it? And she basically promises like a lot of money and whatever. It's like, look, you can have Washington, I don't care, do what you want. I just want Wonder Woman out my way. And he goes, okay, well, what will you be doing once I do this? Obviously, there's going to be a big payoff. And she basically explains that she's heading to Themyscira. Because she says that there's a power source there that she can use. So there's like a power source there that's just exactly what she needs. So KGB goes, okay, you have a deal. And Giganta goes, right, do you need me to break you out? And KGB just goes, no, I was just waiting for the opportunity. So basically they go around releasing metahumans. As once you see this, Giganta talks to herself and says, if I can just get my hands on the treasure. If I get my hands on the treasure of Hera, it's all I need. So all of a sudden, it's pandemonium. Metahumans are running out of the prison facility. Obviously, it's a specialized prison facility because you can't mix normal people with metahumans. They're running out, led by KGBs. They're basically just like listening to KGBs. Otherwise, unless they want to die. So they're like immediately going off. The SAU is in fucking pandemonium. Like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on here? So they immediately start like setting up units to go and attack. So this battle is already going underway, mainly with Wonder Woman versus KG, which at first isn't going well for Wonder Woman because she's just surprised, and KG Beast has a bit of an advantage with his fighting style. He seems to be better trained than Diana, which is all because she's an Amazon princess, but it's KG Beast, If I'm going to have him as a character, he's going to be fucking badass, okay? Yeah, exactly.
Of course I am badass,
But Wonder Woman starts thinking, hang on, where's Giganta in all of this? And KGB is so she goes, "Are you working for Giganta?" Says, "I don't work for anyone." And Diana's like, lasso of truth, gets around him, and basically says, "Where's Giganta?" And he spills a bean. Says, "Heading to Themyscira." So heading to Themyscira. Yeah, heading to Themyscira to take the treasures. And then KGB, and then KGB goes, "Get off me, bitch!" Boom! Kick in the chest. She gets flying. He then takes the lasso off. Like, motherfucker, which point Steve Taylor comes in. So Steve Trevor, boom, punches in the face. Yes. But Steve jumps in, punches in the face, takes him off guard. KGB's like, "You made me bleed. Impressive. But you will die." So them two start fighting away. Wonder Woman immediately heads for Themyscira as fast as she can. So we end up on Themyscira, where Giganta arrives basically by walking there, which is a pretty early indication.
Took about a day or so.
Which took about, but was very easy to spot for the for the Amazons. So yeah, you see that coming,
You would know if that was on its way.
Yeah. So she arrives and basically just starts attacking them. She shrinks herself down so she can fit herself on the island, obviously. But she starts attacking them because obviously the smaller she is, the easier it is for her, because obviously the cancer, but it's like, the bigger she is, the more the cancer hits her. So yes, it gives her a size and strength advantage, but then she's more debilitated. So she shrinks down and she's able to fight them off somewhat. Wonder Woman is almost there. But as she arrives, Giganta is close to getting the Treasure of Hera, which, if people don't know what the Treasure of Hera are, they are, again, additional armor-like things like bracelets, anklets, that kind of thing.
It's essentially what Wonder Woman has on her.
Exactly. So, Giganta tries to go for it, and then Wonder Woman just basically kicks her ass. Is beating the shit. Now, obviously, Giganta has some martial art ability, and she's quite strong in her own right. So there is still somewhat of a fight, but really not to the level of, this isn't a fair fight. Wonder Woman is overpowered in this one. But thanks to a mistake by Wonder Woman, who doesn't always think when she's in battle,
never thinks when she's in battle.
She knocks her towards the treasures, and one of them falls, and she just grabs one, which is a bracelet.
Yeah.
Claps it on, and all of a sudden she feels a rush of power. So she's able to grow into size, thus destroying the palace as she smashes through it. She doesn't touch the other treasures, because again, we know from Giganta, is like when she has a sudden rush of power, it's like the X takes over. It's not that she loses intelligence, like in the original, when a character first came about, she loses her intelligence. She overcame that.
Yeah. It's
just that the ecstasy of it, and also with her not feeling the effects of the cancer at that point. Basically what's happening is, as her power is growing, the pain of the cancer is not as great as the power itself. So now Wonder Woman's trying to beat the shit out of this Giganta, and it ain't gonna fucking fly. Giganta's like, "Fuck you, bitch, poo, fuck you, bitch, poo," and...
Fuck you, fuck all of you.
We keep cutting back to Washington, where there's great fights going on, and KGB is getting the upper hand on Steve, and there's a point where Steve's lying on top of a car hood, and KGB is standing on top of a van with just his gun pointed at him. It's like, "You'll try well. You will die now." And
why is your Russian bin?
I can't do any accents. That's why I can barely do my own. So he goes to shoot him. Steve kind of rolls out the way, takes him by surprise by basically running up the car, spine bustering him almost, and they end up in the fucking van that he was standing on. And the fight just continues between them, and that reaches its conclusion in a way that someone other than myself will probably be better directing that. So I'll probably leave that in the hands of a much more qualified choreographer. Meanwhile, I'm back at Themyscira. With Themyscira, what's happening is Wonder Woman is trying hard to fight it, and then she remembers the syringes. She grabs one of them and goes to stick it in her heel. Think of the Achilles heel. And the syringe snaps. Just ping. And Jagger doesn't even feel anything. Because she's kind of like, where's Wonder Woman? Where's Wonder Woman? The skin is so tough, the syringes won't break through it. So Wonder Woman's like, how am I going to do this? How the fuck am I going to... I don't know what to do. But she goes, I've got an idea. She goes back to the rubble of the palace. And Giganta's like, there you are. Goes to stop her. Wonder Woman just narrowly avoids it. Giganta punches down, causes a shockwave that knocks Wonder Woman into the rubble. But knocks her into the rubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Giganta's like, let's give some fucking cliche monologue about the whole thing. Like, I finally defeated you. Clears away some of the rubble and sees Wonder Woman with her hands on a bracelet. Like that. Giganta's like, what? Just to see Wonder Woman just go, put a bracelet on, puts both anklets on, and Giganta's like thinking, shit. Wonder Woman all the anklets start glowing a bright golden light. And Wonder Woman flies up and starts, pow! Motherfucker! Boom! Motherfucker. And yes, that's what I want for the day. And
when you start talking about fighting, you make noises like that all the time.
It's like, I was going to work on the original Batman, but I'm Western like me.
I like that.
This fight continues, and both of them are now giving as good as they get, until Wonder Woman punch in the face once, knocks it back. Punch in the face twice, then flies backward, does a loop, and then darts towards the chest and punctures the chest right in the fucking ribcage. And Giganta's like, oh fuck, what was that? That wasn't nice. Goes right through the ribcage, right at the heart. She takes the syringes and just starts stabbing her heart with all these syringes. As many as she's got, all of them in the fucking heart, injecting this white formula directly into Giganta's heart. Immediately, the body's like, the heart is going ape shit.
Convulsing.
Yeah. She flies out, like breaking another hole as she does so, just out of measure. Giganta's like, oh my god, like convulsing, blood is starting to come through her nose and her mouth, and she can't handle it. She shrinks down and falls at the same time, so she's lost her balance. So, if you imagine she's down on 2 feet, one foot comes up, she's falling whilst her other foot's touching the floor. That foot gives way, and she also has to be shrinking at the same time. So, by the time she hits the sand below, she's fallen at a good 15 feet or something. Because she's obviously shrinking, so bang! And it's caused a bit of a shockwave because it's the laws of motion. And just Wonder Woman kind of like pulls herself up and just there's Amazon women are like crawling around them, and you see Wonder Woman like breathing hard, beaten, bleeding, and all the jazz, and covered in blood. It's obviously because she's just been inside another human being. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, there's Giganta, and I want it to look as horrific, not gory, but horrific. It's like blood and just the face. I want the face to sound just like white and convulsing and twitching. It looks just wrong. It's an abomination. It's like, oh my god, what did we just do?
Mm-hmm.
Back in Washington, obviously we say though that a period of time has passed, and there is a public celebration. Hey, the Metahumans been defeated, and all this jazz. It's all good. And Wonder Woman and Steve, they look optimistic about the future, but in a bit of dialogue between them, you can tell that they think something dark's coming. Like, something's not right. There's a missing link. They don't necessarily state it, but they said, no, that we're not, this isn't it. Something's coming. Just like in all the other movies, there's a hint of something to come. Like in your Batman one, it's like...
My Batman led into a trilogy.
Yeah. My Superman one, it was the rebuilding of Metropolis.
Mine was, Hugo Strange and the Joker were waking up the middle.
Yeah. Well, that's
a scary book.
Well, here's the thing. We cut to a dark room where Dr. Hugo Strange is sitting at a table holding some files. Doctor Who Strange, you cast in yours
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz.
From Inglourious Bastards, the Green Hornet.
Well, I don't know how he sounds, so I'm just doing everything. Yeah. But
when they make Christoph Waltz, you can't think German.
Yeah. I don't know who Christoph Waltz is. Because so I'll just use different voices here. I trust you have brought me what I require. A figure dressed in black. Places a box on the table. Strange opens it, revealing a glowing green liquid. Strange sighs with satisfaction. Waters from the Lazarus pit. I will not ask what you went through in order to get this. As promised, here are the documents you require. The figure picks up the files, each of which has a name on them, including Flash, Black Canary, Batman. The figure goes to leave. As he opens the door, we see Matthew sitting in a wheelchair dressed in a suit on the other side, so he's obviously outside the room. He's smiling, looking at the dark figure. Have we got what we need? As the figure closes the door, with his back turned to us, we get a flashback of events, including Cadmus arriving at the destroyed lab, Matthew being taken to a helicopter whilst Daniel taken somewhere else in a body bag, his body being placed in a pool, and then of the figure, who we can't see, walking into the hospital room, picking up Matthew and carrying him out. The last flashback scene is the van door slamming, and we go into the van to see Daniel in the driver's seat. We immediately cut back to the door, with the figure just closing it, to reveal it's Daniel with a scar on his face. He hands the files over to Matthew, who smiles. Raz will look for us when he finds out what we've done, Daniel says. Let him come. Right now we have much bigger priorities. Where to first? Daniel asks. Matthew picks up a file and smirks. Gotham. The camera zooms in on one file that simply reads, Joker. Cut to black.
Cool. Very cool, dude. There's lots of interesting picks. Mm-hmm. Hilary Swank's been picked a couple of times in some fan casts. It's because, like you say, she has got the strong part. She can play strong as well as, and she has to. She can clean herself up.
Yeah.
Not my personal pick.
Fair enough.
But that's just because I don't like her.
Fair enough.
Look wise, sweet. But some cool ones. Steve Trevor and Daniel Craig look spot on.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you brought in a couple of wrestlers that you know well. Yeah. To look to part that are mainly physical roles.
Yes.
The Dead Man, for instance, the Undertaker being the head demon. You know, if I die and end up going to hell, yes, I do believe in heaven and hell. You wouldn't believe it if they look and think of it. But I don't see down there at the Black Gates the Dead Man welcoming everyone in. I will be pissed off and demand a return trip.
Yeah.
Lita, I think that you can probably pull off Gigantic because it wasn't a great deal. Plus, a chance to see her in a tower would be awesome. There's some cool ones. I like the fact that you cast the two of us in it.
Yeah. Well, it felt like it was like there was originally the role I had for you was going to be like security guard at the labs who
like cameo.
Like not a cameo, would actually work directly with Giganta as like someone to help her when she's weakened, like the backup. But it was like, no, there's something else there. And I had this character idea where I wanted this a metahuman down, but I couldn't think. I was going to invent a character, but when I asked you, actually, is there anyone? And you brought KG Beast, it was like, no, that works.
Yeah. And you all know KG Beast, of course, from the Justice League and the Batman.
The reason I casted myself in it isn't because I want to be in it. Because if I was going to be in it, it would have been like I would have been a Batman or a Question.
Yeah.
The reason is because I was looking at all the actors that I know, and not one of them seemed to pick this role. And I was reading the lines as two different people, but every time I read it, I thought, let me try and read it as just me. And I read Matthew's part as me. I thought, that's what I prefer.
Yeah.
So I thought, fuck it, I'll do it.
Yeah, why not?
And that's when the joke came in about the height. I thought, well, I've got to take the piss out of the height.
Yeah.
And the added beauty of it was because I already casted Daniel Jones, and I'd already picked the name, and I just thought, wouldn't it be hilarious to mirror the conversation? Because how many times have you said, like, I'm like, piss off, Dan?
It's not my fault, dude.
Yeah, but it's like it's a mirroring of the...
It's tiny. It's not my fault.
I know, but it's the mirroring of the joke. It's like, it's not necessarily just a private joke.
I worry about you sometimes cross the road because you've got to jump off that curb.
Yes, thank you. But the idea is like, when he says something, go to hell, Dan. Well, things like piss off. It has that natural, and obviously I'm used to those jokes, especially when Diana turns around and says, "Oh, I told them," because she says, just remember, she's thanking them for like curing him or curing her or whatever, and she's like, "Yeah, just remember that next time you're able to crush me, okay? Aren't I already able to do that? Piss off." That's my reaction. That I know what that's like. So Are any particular rules that you thought could have been casted better, or anything you didn't like about the casting? Or
other than that,
the
I'd
story
say
itself?
just Hilary Swank would be
Not your first pick.
Yeah, I mean, I looked through a few of them. I didn't really look through any Wonder Woman fan cast before coming into here, because generally, there's a lot of different people's choices. A lot of people, if they've been cast already, of course, already go for the same one.
Yeah.
So you do see. I mean, that Adriana Palicki, who played her in the pilot, did the best she could with the role. I've seen her in other stuff. I know she can act.
Yeah.
So I would probably have given her another chance, with a much stronger script, which I'm sure you would have, than someone who's fucking directed, who is famous for making Ally McBeal. And I know you're arguing always for Ally McBeal is that, well, we got Boston Legal out of it.
Well, no, because the problem is, I wouldn't have the guy who wrote Boston Legal write the Shawshank Redemption.
Exactly, You know
what I mean?
Or you wouldn't have the guy who made Ally McBeal direct it. You'd go get Frank Darabont back.
Yeah, it's just something about you just don't do that. I mean, is there anything about the story?
No, I thought the story was cool, man.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Needs more dragons.
Needs more dragons. Needs more dungeons.
No more dungeons.
And dragons, just in case.
But yeah,
whatever you want.
Honestly, I've got
cool.
another fan cast. So you said to do a standalone Avengers movie where I've got to pick. It's a new Avengers.
Well, however, I'm going to change that for you now.
All right, okay.
Because I've got an idea for one that I'm going to do, and I'm going to challenge myself to do this one.
Okay.
Which will be Marvel. So once I've given my fan cast, I'll explain that.
Yes.
However, you.
It's a good thing I haven't started then.
Yeah, I want John Jones.
You want John Jones?
I want John Jones in a Justice League film really badly, and for the life of me, I couldn't put him in the Aquaman one. I tried, trust me.
So I've got to do a John Jones movie.
Yeah, and the only real thing is that you've got to. Like, you can even do two things, because we know John Jones. Obviously, he plays. He becomes John Jones, and then he turns into Martian Man all the time. He do two. So it's up to you whether you want to do it as two separate people. So when he becomes Martian, he's different. He has to. He has a different voice and everything like that.
Right.
Or whether you want to do it as just the one guy. That's the only thing I want to say. That's pretty up to you. And I don't know, villain. There's no villain wise that I can think of for John Jones.
Well, there's major villains where the creatures that killed his own one.
Exactly. So I'd like to, but I would like to see it not as an origin story.
Right, so how...
So he's established.
So, like, my Superman and my Wonder Woman, they're established.
Yeah, straight away.
Right about the same time period as well, so obviously to lead in the Justice League movie.
And, but, you can always write back an origin, as a, this is how he became the last Martian type thing, that sort of thing. That's up to you. So, yeah, just John Jones, and you cast him how you want, and as long as it leads into the Justice League, I ain't fussed, because I really wanted to say, right, I've got that other way now by doing Aquaman and John Jones.
Yeah.
But for the life of me, I couldn't find the right one for him.
Okay.
Do we have another segment?
Basically, what we have is your fan cast, obviously, which is your Aquaman, which you took upon yourself.
I did, yes, because
you
just the look of horror in your face when I said Aquaman.
Yes.
Was hilarious.
And also, at some point, Adam will show us his tweet of the week.
And of course, don't forget Gareth.
Yes, we also later on the show we are going to be talking about some of our original characters. Last week we mentioned the idea of creating your own character. We're going to be
which we've all done at some point. Anyway.
Yeah, so we're going to be discussing our original characters, talking about their histories, how we came up with them, and our aspirations for them. But I think what we'll do now is discuss your fan cast, Dan. And your fan cast was about Aquaman.
Aquaman.
One of the most, I would probably say, underrated here of the Justice.
He's mocked.
Yeah, because he's mocked. Like, I mean, even in the comics, it says the dude talks to fish, and then he ends up saving people's lives, and you're like, the dude talks to fish, dude. Badass fish.
Yeah, so essentially, my Aquaman is called The Trench. Because it's basically the first arc of his New 52. No, that the DC relaunch. Those who don't know, Aquaman and the entire DC Universe story had it so that after the last September they had a complete relaunch, rewiping of the DC, and said, yeah, this is all number ones, including Batman and Detective Comics, Action Comics, and Superman, which had all pretty much stuck to the original numbers since when they first were created. So it sparked a whole new world to DC, a whole new history with us still not understanding where the fuck happened. But anyway, Aquaman, you look special. Aquaman the Trench. So we start off with Aquaman having recently taken up residence in the Boston area.
Okay.
Aquaman in this one, Aquaman is Orin Atlinson, or Arthur Curry, blonde-haired king of Atlantis, 6 foot, 325 pounds, underestimated, has a chip on his shoulder, and in this one he's played by a star of True Blood and a star of Battleship. So already the boss is lost.
Denny Crane.
Yes, it's Denny Crane. William Shatner is bloated enough to play something that's been under the sea for 7 years. But no, it's not Denny Crane.
That's as much as I'm allowed to do.
Legally, yes, we can't afford it anymore.
Yeah. We do have to pay for the first 10 seconds.
But
Kind of like my first girlfriend.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh yes, that works.
As you can see, it works. He has the look.
Of course.
He has the acting ability to play fucking.
Remember, all these pictures will be on Tumblr. So
and
shouttheshow.tumblr.com.
they will be posted Tuesday for your one, your Wonder Woman one, and Wednesday for my Aquaman one.
Yep, shouttheshow.tumblr.com. Follow.
So he's dealing with the assumptions and prejudice the public have about him, despite the general populace believing that he is useless and ridiculing him about the stupidity of his powers, like you've said previously.
Yeah.
He quickly proves their misconceptions wrong and demonstrates his authority. Back at Amnesty Bay, he tells Mira,
His wife?
Mira is his wife, yes, wife of Aquaman, red-haired, has difficulty adjusting to society on land and has severe anger problems.
That's you.
Also has the ability to increase density of water and construct any structure with it.
Nice.
Is played by Rachel Nichols,
Interesting.
who was in G.I. Joe, Conan the Barbarian. Many things, a beautiful actress, but also has the strength of someone who you believe could go out there and, go out there and fight. He tells Mira that he's completely abandoning. Abandoning Atlantis. I don't know what's wrong with my word today when it comes to A, and wants to pursue a life together with her on land. So straight away you go in there, Aquaman's going, I don't want it, because he's going there straight away. Atlantis doesn't want us anymore. We're not welcome there. We have a chance to start a new life on here. Fair enough. He goes straight to it. However, during that time he's called into a deal with a waterfront attack by an underwater race of carnivorous monsters called the Trench. Now the Trench are nothing but beasts, and there'll be CGI in this. Complete CGI as well, mocaps to the point something similar to Gollum. Or if anyone's seen Hellboy, Abe Sapien, the fish-like monster in that. And the carnivorous creatures as well. Multiple creatures as 100 packs. Oh, he's played by Luke Goss, who was in Hellboy 2, Blade 2. He's very adept when it comes to action scenes, when it comes to special effects. He actually, if anyone's seen Blade 2, he is the main walker. Obviously the main antagonist in that film. He was the main one. He was the first one. I can't remember his name. If I can remember at some point, I'm going to tell you. But who devastated a small harbour. During his investigation, the beasts return and they must fight. And they fight off an invasion and protect the civilians. And successfully drive off After successfully driving off the predators, he reaches the conclusion that they must have taken some captives alive to bring them back to their home. To find clues about them, AC, Aquaman, stands for Arthur Curry, it's a nickname that people call, pays a visit to the marine biologist Stephen Shin. Stephen Shin's an older Asian American man who taught Aquaman how to harness his powers, but tried to kill him when he wasn't shown where Atlantis was. Steve Shin in this one was played by the only Asian American actor that I could think of that wasn't Jackie Chan or Jet Li, because they're both not American.
Guy from Lost?
George Takei.
Ah!
and actually kind of looks the part. Oh my. Of course, George Takei from Heroes, Star Trek, Family Guy, any other thing he wants to pop his head up into. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Constantly referenced by Juwario from That Guy with Glasses.
Yep.
Oh my.
Constantly. The man who taught him how to use Steve Shin, the man who taught him how to use his powers and then try to kill him.
As you do.
They take his guidance and send him to the Marinas Trench. Discovering an entire underground civilization, they realise that the Trench are a dying species desperately trying to feed their children and the Queen. They live in an ancient Atlantic craft deep. That was unlucky.
No, that's excellent.
Deep underwater, whose inhabitants they seem to have killed long ago. Despite his reluctance, I apparently wrote the same word in the fucking. Right, that's interesting. How did I write two words in one word? Interesting.
What did you write?
Resistance and reluctance.
I'll let it
It's
don't you
because,
worry.
Dan, it's because
I'll let it.
you're awesome enough to have both words.
Well, thank you. To cause the extinction of an entire race, Aqua Man has no choice, and he seals them inside a volcano while Mira brings the captives to safety and having saved the day. Having saved the day, they return home on land. Now, I know I've whizzed through the story pretty much here. It's essentially because it's a 6-issue comic. It's a small arc, but in themes of comics. And the thing is, a lot of it will be action sequences to show off the full extent of Aquaman's powers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like, Aquaman is always, he's a lot of shit for being this, whatever he is. He talks to fish, he does this, he does that. Yeah, but he has the ability to talk to fish to go get things sorted. The ability to, he's telepathic in certain places, super-induced strength, and can control the waves. That along with Mira, who can make any construct out of water solid enough to walk on. I think it's fucking safe to say there's going to be some cool effects in this, and personally, if I was going to do this, I'd choose up someone who's very good at directing water sequences. And yes, I know fans of Entourage right now are going to tell me that I'm copying them, but quite frankly, can you imagine anyone who's better at this? But James Cameron.
Alright.
If James Cameron directed, I mean, wait, hell, in Entourage, it made 118 million. At the time, it was the biggest box office opening. However, so they're back on home. One of the police officers that they helped out brings them a dog made homeless by the attacks. They decide to take the dog in and start calling him the Aqua Dog. And that's how it ended with, this one would be like almost like they were on land, they're out in the home one, so, you just have them sitting there and wondering what they were going to do next. Then the copper would come around, go, here's the dog, and they'll go, alright. And it'd be kind of a happier motif than the rest of the ones have ended.
Yeah.
Now, so far, we've done DC. And we've done DC very well.
Yes.
In my opinion.
All in this build up to the great
Justice League
movie.
Now, of course, for Justice League, we're now awaiting
Zatanna, John Jonas,
and John Jones.
Yeah, my apologies for the Zatanna.
They are the only two that win. Once that, we'll get together ourselves, and all three of us will do the Justice League film.
Yes.
So in the meantime, seeing as that's probably about a month away, about 4 episodes or so, I'm gonna just go and say, yeah, I'm going to Marvel, dude. Just gonna go to Marvel. Pop over there for a little bit,
Okay. Well, you are the kind of like the Marvel guy.
I'm the Marvel guy, I'm the Geek King, I have a Marvel tattooed arm. And how do you follow the Avengers? How do you follow the X-Men? Well, you follow the Avengers and the X-Men with the House of M.
Yes. Yes.
So that's what I'm going to do.
Oh, wait.
I'm going to fan cast the House of M.
Fair enough.
Because, quite frankly, last night I did the Aquaman one and went, I'd probably do House of M. Now, do I recast people or do I keep them? All I'm going to say is this. The only person I think is safe, only two people that are safe, would be Mark Ruffalo, who played Bruce Banner the Hulk, who doesn't appear in the main House of M story that I'll be doing. And Tony Stark. Because Tony Stark is Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark, and together they are Iron Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I might recast everyone else. Thor is probably safe, because I like the guy who played Thor. Cap was alright, But I'm going to have a look around and see what I can do. Wolverine. Might recast him, I know.
Bum, 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 bum.
Emma Frost will be someone who can act and looks hot. And bear in mind that this is Marvel, which means anyone who's been cast in DC is now available again.
Yes.
I can pick who the fuck I want, and I like that.
Well, I look forward to hearing that. John Jones is going to be a trial for me, I admit. But I'm starting to get a couple of ideas in my head. Maybe do something we haven't done yet. I think I've got quite a good idea for where that could go. So, Adam, my question to you is...
Yes.
Do you have any twins of the week?
Of course I do. You think I would turn up yourself completely up bread?
Yes.
Never, sir, because then I wouldn't get my glass of pop.
I don't think anyone recognises what you're saying.
Oh, basically...
Other than a fucking mumble.
Well, sir, I must tell you that you are a monocle.
So, what are your...
Monarch.
So, Adam,
Hello.
are you ready with your tweets of the week?
Yes.
Tweets
Okay.
Yes.
This episode, I sadly only have 2.
Aww.
I know.
You're a disappointment.
I
You're
know.
bitter disappointment.
Do you know why? It's because Twitter was a bit of disappointment. I'm going to take my hand off your shoulder. Twitter was a bit of disappointment this week. There were no funny tweets bar 2, in my opinion, on my feed.
Did you look at George Carlin?
Yeah, I didn't think that any of them were funny enough.
No. Wow.
The first one this week comes from @TheMarkTwain. It's no wonder
Who
that
the
truth.
fuck is Mark Twain?
James Brown.
I doubt he's got Twitter.
It's no
He's
wonder.
kind of dead.
It's no wonder that truth is stranger than fiction.
What?
Hang on, dude.
Go ahead, dude. Finish.
Okay. It's no wonder that truth is stranger than fiction. Fiction has to make sense.
How come most of your tweets of the week are dead people?
Because Dan, I'm sorry. It says, I tweet dead people.
Shit, I ain't dead, so...
That and recently Twitter has started being used by the Black Hawk.
The Black Hand, I've heard.
Yeah. When they got Mark Twain and George Carlin, things really picked up. It's like, these guys can't fight. Yeah, but we need a bit of a laugh. You know what I mean? We need someone to work the clubs.
Tweet number 2!
From @DepressedDarth, there's no chance I'm finding the droids I'm looking for with the new Apple iMaps. Thank you, Bradley.
And those were your...
Tweets of the week!
Let's discuss some random topics now. One thing I'm going to talk about... Hang on. You know, in Britain, we
Sorry, dude, go for it.
because of issues with pig farmers and we have a pork shortage in this country, which means we have
Say it, dude, say it.
we have a shortage of bacon.
No! Not the bacon! Why won't somebody think of the bacon?
We're running out of bacon.
Not the bacon! Where's Babe?
Babe was in the sandwich I had a couple of weeks ago.
Son of a bitch!
Hey, I didn't have all of the Babe.
Okay,
You think I'm the only one that eats the Babe?
With Babe's mouth.
Oh, what the hell did I just walk into?
I was
Do you think I'm the only...
talking about eating Babe.
Am I the only one who reads Babe? Even one of you been getting up to.
That would do, pig. That would do.
But yes, there's a shortage of bacon in this country.
Do you know why?
What?
Vegetarians.
We're going to have to contact the Danish.
Canadians. They want fucking
Yes!
Canadian bacon, man.
We'll contact the Canadians.
And we'll get them to bring some maple syrup out as well.
It's like, she's your queen too. Fetch it over.
The Danish won't play bar like, but we get the Canadians.
Well, the Danish will, but we have to, we might have to talk to them. That's the problem.
No, what
We
should
haven't
do...
talked to them since, like, the Vikings.
Yeah.
Last time we talked to them, well, maybe we
But mind you, there is still bacon in butchers and Asda. As long as there's bacon there, I'm happy. If
Asda's can source some of the pig
apparently what it is that the pig farmers aren't getting enough money, so they're having to cut down on stock. By stock, I mean pigs.
God
Yeah.
damn.
So that means with a simple raise of 4 pence on a pack of bacon,
Yeah.
it'll be all solved.
Do it.
4 pence. Only need a razor bacon bag.
Do it.
But they won't do it.
Why?
Because apparently it's cheaper to to import it.
Yeah, but it's also cheaper for me to kick you in your face.
What did you do, what?
British.
What?
Not
you, Dan.
But British bacon is the best.
Well, we know that. Canadian bacon, while it's nice, a little too crispy.
We will.
Danish has a horrible aftertaste.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. But yes, we will get our bacon.
We will.
We'll make a movie about it, which will make millions. Some of which we'll give to the pig farmers.
It'll be called Pig in a Sandwich.
Dan, that was glorious. That was
lovely jubbly. God, I love this show sometimes. I really do. But yeah, something I've been like thinking about actually. When we talked about the fan cast before, this big Justice League movie that we're working towards, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to have separate ideas. We're going to try to come together to do this. What do we think about the possibility of an actual Justice League movie coming out? Because obviously, I think was Christopher Nolan working on it or something like that.
No, DC have had a few different writers to write several different projects. One including one Justice League. They want Wonder Woman, they want Flash, and they want an Aquaman one as well as Lobo.
Yeah, I mean, am I the only one that's kind of getting nervous about this? Because...
Yeah, I'm about as nervous as I was when the Avengers was announced.
Yeah, it's just kind of like...
As in, not at all, I'm excited.
Well, here's the thing.
Mainly because I want to see Batman and Superman on the same screen.
Yeah.
I'm that fanboy.
It's like... Because obviously with the Batman, great success. Superman, I haven't seen, so I can't judge.
No, next year.
Green Lantern... Whenever you mention the guy, I'm like, when I look at the guy, it just doesn't quite work for me.
Do you know what the problem was? The film's fine, right? The story is fine. But it was every time he suited up. Because they made the decision to make the suit all CGI, there was no physical costume. And while it sounds great in theory, it was like, you could tell it wasn't fitted to the person. And you were watching it going, wow, if you were doing that, I thought you were getting Peter Jackson's guys in. Yeah. So I couldn't tell.
Yeah, I mean, again, why wouldn't you make a suit?
It's not hard. I'm sure you want the CGI to look good. Well, you just give them a glow over then.
Yeah.
Give them some light bulbs on, and then when the ring happens, you give them some... You make some fancy constructs. The constructs look great.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, Kilowog on that was amazing. Of course, Kilowog was played by the late Michael Clark Duncan.
Yeah, I just think part of the issue with me is, like, assuming you got the same actors, right? Which they probably would. But assuming you
Bale's not in it.
Yeah, but like here's the thing: if you was it Ryan Reynolds?
Ryan Reynolds.
Going with
Ryan Reynolds, Henry Cavill would play Superman.
Yeah.
Who looks alright.
The question is that
you'd have Christian Bale, and then you'd have to read then everyone else's cast.
But I can't see Ryan Reynolds and Christian Bale working well, because for me,
that's the beauty of Christian Bale's contract.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be.
Yes.
And anyone else could get on with Ryan Reynolds.
I just don't like Ryan Reynolds.
I do.
I
really do.
I think for me, it's like there was one movie which I thought he was great in, and it was never like a big movie. I think it was called like The Good Teacher or something like that. He was basically a teacher dying of cancer, and he was like everyone's favorite teacher. And there's this other teacher who was trying to be liked, but he couldn't quite get there. And every year the school had an award to award the best teacher. This other guy is a teacher, he's a coach, but he's dying of cancer, and he kind of teaches this other teacher how to be a better teacher, and he kind of adopts his style once he dies. And it's actually, despite the fact that he does die, it's quite a happy ending because you see the good he did, and it is a really good movie. Basically, he took a role which Robin Williams would have murdered and made it awesome.
I enjoy Ryan Reynolds' work ever since Two Guys at Pizza Hut, which was his TV series he was on. Van Wilder. Because I enjoy that sort of comedy as well, to a certain point. I mean, sometimes I like nothing more and put one of them on.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that when he became Hannibal King in Blade 3, it was like he come in and he was badass and that, and it was like you could easily see why Wesley Snipes was worried that the film was going to be a focus on him, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Wesley Snipes was asked when he kept complaining about the kids getting all the good lines and the kids getting all, when Wesley, have you read the script? No, I just signed on because it was Blade 3. It's all about me. But then went, no, Wesley, this is clearly the one that we're going to push you out.
Yeah.
And then we can move on with the Night Stalkers. To a point where Wesley Snipes threatened to kick the director's arse every time he seen him.
Yeah.
So Triple H, who was working on the role, the wrestler, who was working on the film in a villain role, was the director's unpaid bodyguard.
Yeah.
Whenever the director went somewhere, Triple H went with him because Wesley was scared of Triple H.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes is a black belt in multiple forms of karate.
Yeah.
Triple H is a big motherfucker.
Yes.
It's like, yeah. So that's what scared you. Like, you're not scared of Stallone's acting across from the scene from you.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So you forgot to say Simon Says. Come on, Stallone. Try better than that.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean...
But, yeah, man, I mean... I think Ryan Reynolds would work... It was a good Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Especially for Howard Jordan.
Yeah.
And he was a great... And he wants to come do Deadpool, and he had it wrote in his contract that he could play the Deadpool movie. But he also had it wrote in the contract that he wouldn't do Deadpool unless Deadpool was a rated R film, or 18 over here, I believe is the correct translation, 18-15.
Yeah.
Because obviously the BBC, BFCC, and the American
because you've got
rating system is completely different.
Yeah, because obviously in America you have the FCC, the Federal Censorship Committee, and Britain it's like the British
Film.
Yeah, it's like the British Film
Commission.
Yeah.
So you've got that, and
is it like the British Censorship Committee?
British film people who panic about everything.
So I think they're completely different. But he also said that he wanted to make Deadpool.
Yeah.
He said, forget about what I did on Wolverine Origins. That was Wade Wilson. That wasn't Deadpool at the end.
Yeah.
He goes, I want to make Deadpool. I'm breaking fourth wall, swearing, Jimmy Chonga, and Deadpool that you love. And he wanted Robert Rodriguez to come and direct it. Robert Rodriguez, who did Sin City, Robert Rodriguez, for every fan-friendly film he does, he does a bloody gory one.
Yeah.
He went and did Sin City after he did Spy Kids.
Yeah.
He went and did Grindhouse, and then he did Spy Kids 4. He's got a lot. He went and from Machete, and he did Spy Kids 3D.
Basically, Spy Kids.
So it's pretty cool that he can do that. He does family-friendly ones as well. And he would be an amazing actor. But the problem being, it's not in Marvel's control.
Yes.
So Marvel was like, I don't want this. Like Marvel go, yeah, we do that and make it our first 18 rated R film. Yeah, of course, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But Sony went, no. Why? Because this is for the X-Men audience. And no matter what people were saying was, no, Deadpool's not the X-Men audience.
Yeah.
He just happens to be part of that universe from now and again.
Yeah.
It's a completely different... No, it's the X-Men audience. That's why we got the contract. No, it's... No. Listen here. You make it a 12 to... You make it a PG-13. You can't make a decent Deadpool film. The guy's a fucking mercenary.
Yeah.
Who has no problems stabbing people in the head.
Yeah.
Of course, he does famously say in the Uncanny X-Force when they... Spoilers... kills Apocalypse, who's a boy at the time, and he sits there and goes, I've done lots of terrible things, man, and Wolverine goes, yeah, you've killed hundreds of thousands of people, at which point he turns around and goes, yeah, but never a kid.
Yeah. And
he goes, who'd have thought, eh? Mercenary with a mouth, turns out to be the conscience of his hit team, and walks away. And it's just like, you can't do a PG-13, you've got to do a rated R film.
Yeah.
To be strong, it's got to be bloody, and it's got to be violent. Hence why the Deadpool game looks, they made it look as if Deadpool took over, so it'd be an awesome game.
Yeah.
You got to break the fourth wall, but they won't do that. To Deadpool to them was what happened at the end of Wolverine Origins.
Yeah.
And I fucking hate when it does stuff like that. I mean, Wolverine Origins, they did a lot of things right, but they did more things wrong.
Yeah, that's why I never get, like, it's the corporate point of view when they say, this is what we're going to do. And I'm reminded by Eric Bischoff, WCW, when a legal team is telling him, like, who nothing to do with wrestling, they tell him what they're going to do at a wrestling show. This is what you'll do. And Eric Bischoff runs wrestling. This is what you do. And Eric Bischoff gets him and says, what's the name of our Thursday night show?
Yeah.
And none of them knew the answer. So
the famous line for JR is, it was run by people who didn't know the difference between a wrist watch and a wrist lock.
Yes. And Eric Bischoff walked out. That's the same thing. It's like, I'm not a big Marvel aficionado. I'm not a big comic book aficionado, right? Let's be honest. I learn everything as I go.
Yes.
But if somebody came to me And say I was, I don't know, elected the new, owner or runner of Sony, who has this contract, right?
Yes.
And Marvel representative, whoever they are, comes to me and says, "We want to do this Deadpool movie." And
Well, that's not even the thing.
Yeah.
The Marvel representative has no say in it.
Yeah.
The only thing they can do is have someone on from Marvel as a consultant.
Yeah. Well, let's just say that the Marvel guys there, whoever's promoting this movie, right, they come at me, and the corporate team say, "Well, this is what we have, Mr. Caulfield," and they show me it, and I look at it because, again, I'm not a fish out. I would look at that and go, "What the fuck is this?" And like, oh, well, no, the guy's a mercenary. A fucking mercenary. He stabs people in the face. What is this shit? I mean, where's the breaking the fourth wall? Where's the complete lack of control over his own language?
Well, what's the greatest about it is that it's one of those things where you'll be sitting there going, "No, what's this? No. Deadpool doesn't have swords coming out of his hand. He has swords in his hands. They don't come out with his fucking arms. What's with his eyes? No, he doesn't have that. He doesn't have Cyclops' power to blow fucking rooms apart with his eyes.
Yeah.
And I don't care how dark you make the diamonds on his eyes to make it look like a mask. It's not his mask, is it? More importantly, Deadpool. The nickname is a merc with a mouth. And what do you do during the film, at the end of the film, when you finally show us the Deadpool? You have his mouth sealed up.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah, absolutely. I would be like, I mean, if I had to, say if like I was in charge, and we had to make this Deadpool movie, but for some weird contract obligation, we had to use the Ryan Reynolds character, I would have to, I wouldn't be able to retcon. The only thing I could do, well, technically would be a retcon.
Well, Ryan Reynolds came up with the idea himself.
Yeah.
He loves he honestly God, he's a Green Lantern collector. Yeah. He's a huge Marvel collector. He says he owns most of the Deadpools, which with his wage he probably could.
Yeah, I mean, I would like.
He actually came up with the idea himself.
Yeah.
He said, "What I would do is I'd sit there in full Deadpool costume, including the mask." He goes, "I don't care." He goes, and I would sit there with a chimichanga or something in my hand, munching away, because that's all you ever see Deadpool do is eat.
Yeah.
Because his metabolism allows him to, his healing power. And sit there and go, yeah. So this is right. The first scene, you sit there and go, yeah. So this is the first. Scene. Yeah, this is a new movie. Yo, everyone comfy? Stop eating. Give me some popcorn. You sit there and break the fourth wall instantly and go, yeah, this is a new movie. That guy you seen at the beginning of Wolverine Origins? That was me. The guy at the end? Yeah, I don't know who that was. But, let's see how things go. And when you run into a character that he said, I'd like it if we ran into a character that was in Origins.
Yeah.
Say Blob or something stupid like that. Someone who died off screen.
Mm.
And he'd sit there, or Gambit.
Yeah.
You went into Gambit and you go, hey Gambit, I haven't seen you since... Wait a minute, you wouldn't know about that, would you? Because the famous thing is he sees Bullseye, or he sees dead Spider-Man who he's met before in the past. And he turns around, and I think the classic one with Spider-Man was like, hey Spider-Man, I haven't seen you since issue 167. And Spider-Man goes, what the hell are you talking about? Never mind, kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a fun way of doing that, I mean, we're talking characters here. And obviously we've got our own characters.
Yeah.
And we'd love probably, some of them we'd love to see on the screen.
Of course.
So what brings you back? Nick Funk. Don't we really talk about your character or what?
Yeah, sure.
Let's talk about your character then.
Okay then. Well,
you've probably got a few to choose from. Which one do you go with?
I went for the character I created recently, which is probably true because he's one of my most. He is the oldest character I have. Yet this is the first time I've ever created him for story purposes, and it is the character of Walker. Walker stands at a height of 6'2". He has a weight of 242 pounds. Bear with me. I've written a fair bit of description about.
Cut it off.
I'll do what I can. Thin but not scrawny. Walker, using martial arts and guns, usually, but bottles, rocks, and chairs aren't out of the question, as his weapons, with a disturbingly smooth voice for his persona. Walker is, for all intents and purposes, not a normal man, unsurprising, seeing as he is close to godlike nature. There is a universe in which gods exist. In this universe, one man made quite the mistake, accidentally sleeping with the daughter of Death himself. Death, of course, not happy at this, decided to punish the man, sentencing him to an eternity of service as an executioner. Executioners being a special unit serving as the death guards in different universes. They are basically like, they are, in terms of DC, they are the Green Lantern Corps for the Guardians.
Okay, yeah.
That kind of idea?
Yeah.
So they live in servitude to the big fella, which is death.
Yeah, some due to choice, some seek him out, some because they are being punished.
These are heavy metal fans.
So it's always like the military has some people like, yeah, we'll send you off to military kid. It's like, oh, gee, thanks. So all the people who are there going, gee, thanks, we did this because we want to give all our lives to our country, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you, dickheads.
One universe's executioner displeased Death. He spared too many lives, and as such was robbed of his immortality. He had been alive for centuries, and as such, age and diseases that he'd caught in time, but never affected him, killed him instantly. This left an opening, and the newest recruit was sent to the Free Universe. Therein he became Walker. Having walked the Earth for 2 centuries, starting at the late 19th, Walker adopted the Wild West outlaw lifestyle, carrying a Model 29.44 Magnum revolver and Marlin Model 1893 lever-action rifle as his weapons of choice.
For the people who don't understand that was one small gun and one big gun.
There will be pictures posted on Tumblr. His powers involve immortality, smoke mimicry, or the ability to turn himself into smoke and appear as it, and typhokinesis, the ability to control smoke. As well as this, he has the ability to manipulate shadows and control over black canine-like creatures trained to attack and kill on command.
They have 3 heads.
No, these are widely thought to be the animals more commonly known as hellhounds.
Good.
He is destined to walk the universe's roads forever as the Walker. He, of course, dresses as cowboy-esque style. He wears white shirt with black waistcoat, brown overcoat and bandana covering the lower part of his face, blue jeans, black boots, and a Stetson.
It's a fucking gangster.
On a final note, Walker likes being feared as a myth, a bedtime story to warn kids of bad behaviour. He loves working from that fear and manipulating it, hence the creation of the Mad Journal. The Mad Journal came about after Walker entered a bar, and using the manipulation of shadows, drove a drunkard insane. This led to the drunkard writing all about Walker, his stories and myths and way of life, in a journal known as the Mad Journal. This book is passed around from generation to generation, each creating a new generation of fear. I introduced him to the story I was writing with a small poem taken from the Mad Journal, which goes as such. Headed for the horizon, with the hounds of hell, the Walker cometh, hear the toll of the bell. That was my original.
So this is a poem that features in the Mad Journal itself?
Yeah.
So it tells of it. So it tells basically of who it's writing about.
Yeah.
Black as day and bright as night.
Close.
Well, like you said, it's almost like a core.
Yeah.
So is that everything about your character, or is there more?
Well, I
So what's the story is based on?
He's based in the comic series I'm writing, the Karma. Karma being a genetically modified hero, meta-human, I suppose is the best term.
It's your nose, mate. You can't get rid of it.
No, there's some hair.
Karma, that's another backstory which will take, and like, I could explain it.
Well, we could do a regular weekly thing where we talk about the character.
Oh, that's how I could get the series started, by discussing each chapter.
Yeah, every week we just keep discussing these things. I mean,
if we have time, I'll introduce Karma.
Well, we'll do it next week, dude, so you could get more build-up.
Yeah.
Dan, what about Dan?
Mine's Norman Smith.
Norman Smith. Tell us about Norman Smith.
Smith comes from a comic called Norman Smith is Playing.
All right.
It's a comic that I wrote, hoping for an artist at some point. That is a hint. Norman Smith is an average lad.
Mm-hmm.
Skinny, scruffy beard, messed up hair. He's a blogger. You know, he breaks the fourth wall consistently. He's pretty much narrating his own story as he's going.
Mm-hmm.
So he talks directly to the writer to the reader. And there's nothing special with Norman, considering that he grows up and lives in a time. Or he's about 23, so he's grown up and lives in a time of powers. Everyone in the world has powers, but Norman. That's why Norman Smith is playing. His friends call him Normie, and he says, they call me normal. They call me Normie and normal, whereas in this world I am unique.
Yeah.
He has a bunch of friends, a love interest who I'll introduce in later parts of the segments of the show, and that. Felicia Collins, Brutus Monsoon, Dave Riggs, stuff like that. Jack Arrows, or was it Dave Arrows? And that's what I do.
Whatever you want it to be.
I get them mixed up all the time when I wrote them down. They all have powers and they use them to scare them and whatnot. But the first issue of the comic was originally going to be a one shot, and I put it into 5 different ones. And it's called the Is series because each one features a different character and a different power. Norman Smith is playing, Felicia Collins is fast, and stuff like that. It's like real simple wording, is fast, is strong.
Yeah.
And he's got, he hates the world around him as well. It's like, he makes to a point where during the comic he goes, I'll tell you how stupid powers are. Watch, and you see like. A teleporter jumping off a building and teleporting and landing perfectly off the bottom of the building, and the bottom of the building landing. And then you see, he goes, yeah, that was smart, right? Yeah. What really happens when someone does that? And they teleport and they jump off a building, and then halfway they land and it's still flat, and they're about 2 foot off the ground. So when they teleport back in, on the face, and you just have him cackling on the floor while having this face, he crashed into I told you powers was stupid.
Yeah.
And he takes great delight in showing you what's wrong.
Yeah.
Apart from Felicia, who is mad about it. To a point where he sits and goes, okay, her power's pretty cool. Powers aren't that stupid.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. I like
that's my character. It just came up one day. I was like, what would it be like to live in a world where everyone has a power but you?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I had to write that. So that's what came to mind. And I've wrote it. It's like a 24-page comic. And just really, it's really the only thing it's waiting for is an artist.
I like it.
So yeah.
I've got all sleeves as long as my arm, and probably longer.
Your arm's not very long, you short cunt.
Yeah. Fuck off that. This week I'll address one of my favorite characters, Telmeret, spelled TEL''MERET. It's quite basically this character had his origins in D&D. He's a monk who can't remember his past, and in order to try to remember his past, he continues praying to a Chinese god. Who I believe was Qing Yang or something like that. I'm not saying that.
Qing Yang.
I'm not saying that it's similar. It sounds similar.
Probably was Qing Yang.
It might be Qing Wang. I don't know. It's
Qing
hard.
Wang.
Yeah, sure.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. So it's hard to. That hurt my wrist. Anyway, so Telmeret makes his first appearance in a D&D campaign alongside a fellow monk. These are also other people's characters. A fellow monk by the name of what was it? Tasselhoff. Hasselhoff.
I got it.
Yeah. Angel, who's a necromancer who doesn't like anybody, and some other guy we ended up killing off. Basically, there's this other guy. I think he's like a cleric. No, he's a paladin. And
what's a paladin?
Well, some say
Shut up. Anyway, basically what happened was Telmeret was kind of the voice of wisdom for the group, even though he himself had this tendency to have the worst luck. Basically, he was very wise, very athletic, but at crucial moments his luck would run out. Almost like his luck was, as soon as he activated good luck, it was on a timer. One classic example is in his very first campaign, it was a kind of like a pre-test to see if the character would work. He appeared alongside a character called White Man, who was this big creature. If you play World of Warcraft, if I say the ones that carry the caravans, you'll know. I don't know the actual name of the beasts.
They're called cars.
No, they're like big animal, like wolf-like
4x4.
Anyway, so what happens is, there's a bit where they've got to jump across a cavern to get from one side to the other because it's a massive fucking drop. White man goes first, clears the jump, no problem. Now my monk shouldn't have a problem, but I rolled a fumble, which is a 1. So I go to fall. White man rolls a reflex and he captures me with his rope, like he throws a rope. So he manages to wrap around my arm or something. So my character ends up slamming into the side of the canyon, and White man drags him up, his face scratching against the wall, cutting his face open and everything, losing massive amount of hit points. So that's the kind of luck he had, but he was a voice of wisdom, because in terms of wisdom and all that, you can play a character easily. But when it comes to what actually happens, well, that is determined by a dice roll. So I had this great character that would have this, often, he knows what he's talking about, and he kind of gets the situation, but by God, sometimes he has bad luck. Yeah, always does well praying. In D&D, praying is one of the few things you want to do. Because if you pray, if you fuck it up, the gods will punish you. But on every prayer that I did, natural 20s. Don't know how I managed it. Natural 20s. So I am Telmaret at one point prays to his god, because I'm in this village where basically what the entire campaign is, there's a dark storm that has gathered over this ocean, one of the oceans, and it blocks trafficking and all the jazz. So when it comes to the city, it gets no sources. It's got no resources coming in, no imports, exports. So it's getting run down. So he prays to his god for help for this village. It rolls a natural 20, so the god restores utter prosperity in the village, and then some. Makes him a very, very rich man. But the thing is, they do it by...
He was a rich man.
He makes Telmaret a very rich man, and knowing that Telmaret, the first thing he's going to do, be playing him, is he goes to the Great Library, which is run down, gives him most of the money, says, there you go, restore the library. And he goes around the village just handing the money out, because he's a monk, he doesn't need the money, which my party didn't like. But I kept enough to buy stuff that we need. No, but I kept enough to know how much we need. And I also explained, the village, the money is worthless here anyway. This is well, we need obviously, in order to get the equipment we need, the village needs to be better equipped. But at the same time, as soon as we restore the economy, our gold is worth less. What we need to do is spend the money here to get the village going, leave, come back, and then get the equipment we seek. Because by then our gold will be worth, we'll have enough gold to purchase it. It was a cycle, because basically the DM rewarded my thinking by going, yeah, that actually makes sense. You can't, because if you're giving everybody gold and then you come along with all this gold, they just go, well, we just got it, so it's not worth much. It's inflation and all that jazz. It made sense. So the DM was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That plays.
Yeah, because he initially wasn't going to award us any items, but because we thought about it, we went, okay. But what happened with my character, that campaign kind of died off because people fell out. By that I mean people fell out with the DM, who was Kai.
No surprise there.
And basically what happened was myself and the last that plays on Gel decided to do a mini story based upon the characters. So what happened was there was a scenario where I wrote this old lord, this old devil king, not a demon king, a devil king, who was trying to come back to life to rule over the planet again. And it turned out that Telmar had intimate knowledge of this beast, but he didn't know how. So Angel, Tasselhoff, and he gathered together to try and fight this demon, which led me to NaNoWriMo. And if you haven't heard of NaNoWriMo, it's a yearly event where you try to write a novel of a certain number of length, a minimum length, in a minimum amount of time. Right? You've got a certain amount of time to write this many words in a novel. And I started writing his backstory. And the backstory was that he actually once served an ancient order, like a great order, but several years into his future, if you will, you know. Mm-hmm. So many years before any of these other stories happened, he served an order, and there was a devil king who was at that time a sorcerer, just a mortal sorcerer trying to get more power. And the mightiest paladin, most holy of warriors, was going to face him, and Telmaret goes along with him to cover him, like to be his support. when the sorcerer and the paladin battle each other, an odd event takes place where the two merge together to create this two separate beings. A warrior of who's predominantly good with a hint of twinge of evil in him, and an incredibly evil warrior with a touch of good in him. Until Brett becomes lost in this timeline because the explosion was enough to send him flying into the past. But he keeps going further back, so it's he'll end up in one time period and then end up jumping again because the magic's unstable. Until he eventually manages to get back to the point of origin.
Yeah.
By means of by defeating these magical beings, he eventually has enough power to get back to the future, where he suddenly realised that the whole event was caused by the Order themselves in the first place. And they sent him back in time again and wipe his memory.
No, that's cool.
And that's how he ends up being this being of wisdom, yet he doesn't know his past. Technically, you could argue he doesn't know his past because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So, and it's ended with the NaNoWriMo story. It hasn't been finished. It's been part written. But that's the way it ends. But he's my favourite character to play. I've always wanted to play him again in the D&D campaign. Never had the DM to really pull it off. So, look forward to that character. Probably my favourite character of all time, but not my most famous. We'll
get to that next week.
We'll get to that one next week because that one involves alternate realities.
Right here on #show.
So I think maybe about time that we start wrapping things up. Do you reckon?
Time to plug.
Time to plug, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/shout. Don't forget, though, of course, you can follow us on Tumblr. We recommend it because that's where we post everything. Shouttheshow.tumblr.com. Find our fancast pictures, find out episodes, find random posts that we love and share. You also follow us all on Twitter. The Geek King can be found at Geek King. That is G33K_KNG. That is G3 K_KNG. Follow Adam at the Lone Walker 1. That is the Lone Walker and the number 1. And that's me at
fajitas.
Yeah, at Steve Jones #fajitas.
And buttercups there, please.
Follow me,
books.
dude. Stop being jizzy.
I will be whoever I want to be.
You can follow. You can follow
They
me.
said I could be anything, so I became a chair.
If still I could be anything, I became Batman.
So you can follow me at Steve Jones 313. That is STEVGONES3 #1.
Penguin.
Fuck you. Our next episode will be episode 28. That will be broadcasted on YouTube and Blip on October 6th. Once again, we thank you all for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you next week on one of the greatest podcasts in the world. #.
Yeah.